Are you somehow bored of monogamy but afraid to open the bedroom? Discover how to embody the confidence to claim your sensual desires in this episode. I'm Candia Raquel, and you are at the Sensual Sessions Podcast, the place to explore sensing pleasure through your senses and moving in a way that is free from inhibition and full of self expression. So make sure to subscribe to get these episodes delivered on your inbox every week on my website, candiaraquel.com, www.candiaraquel. And today we have a very special guest. This is Jennifer Ruscin. She's an expert in retail and host of the Open Bedroom podcast. Welcome, Jennifer. So happy to have you here.
Well, thanks for having me. We've done an episode exchange, just so you'll know. So she was
Yeah.
on mine, and here I am on hers, and we're so excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, to expand on the topic of exploring pleasure without bounds, but with safety. So I am very curious, like, how did it happen that you decided to create a podcast about having an open bedroom? I like it's like quite self-explanatory.
Yeah, and I'm almost on episode 200. So 200 episodes ago, I found myself in my second marriage completely bored sexually. And I was in my late 30s and having a sexual awakening. And I wanted my husband to explore with me. And explore meant anything outside of two positions. And that was all he was willing to do. So I found myself in front of a polyamorous therapist, and I said, I need help. How do I convince him to do some sexual exploration with me? Like, how can I convince him to do a third position? Like, could we do doggy style? Because that would be real wild, you know?
Real wild.
Real
Okay.
wild. For me, that was really wild. Um, and we eventually brought him into the conversation, and I eventually realized that there was a lot of trauma in his life that he was just sort of starting to come to the surface, and he'd need years to figure that out. And with his repression, that it wasn't going to happen with him. And so she kind of looked at me and was like, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I don't want to die having only had two sexual positions in my entire life. Like, I want to harness the sexual energy that I have, and I need to go try things. And so I was like, I would like an open marriage. I would like to stay married, and I love this man, and I've done life with this man for almost 10 years, but I would like permission to go and explore. And so, yeah, that started my exploration. We both got on dating apps and started to see people separately. And my life partner now, Scott, was actually the second person that I swiped right on I don't know, Tinder or whatever it was back in the day. If you like, 4 or 5 years ago when we first met. But I went on a journey that I have not stopped going on yet.
Okay. uh, I want all the tea. So what happened with the husband?
We got divorced.
You got divorced.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really cute though. Like in the therapist room, the whatever, the therapy room. I remember we left and he looked at me and he was like, so if you're gonna get on dating apps and you're gonna date other people, I can do the same thing, right? And I was like, yeah, go for it. Like, go learn some new moves, like go meet some people and be expansive and take a class and all these things that I had done. And he was like, okay. So yeah, so we both dated separately for I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months or so. And then my relationship with Scott, my partner now, got deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And his dates got fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer. You kind of go through the dating pool fairly quickly, at least in my area. I'm in Arkansas. And he was like, this isn't fun for me anymore. And he's like, what are we doing? And I'm like, having a great time is what I'm doing. And he just was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, he said, I want a vanilla life with a vanilla wife. and this is too much for me. And so we looked at each other and decided to lovingly uncouple. And we did. And he's still involved in my kid's life. He's not my kid's father. He was my second husband. So he still goes to their baseball games. They still go out to dinner and have a great relationship. And I'm really grateful for that uncoupling.
Wow. So in a way, it was an act of love,
Yeah.
like the realization of the truest sensual preferences and desires of each other, and with the whole humbleness of the realization that what I want is not what you want, and vice versa, and as painful as it can be to know that you don't have anything to offer to the other person in terms of what they need to be fulfilled. It's 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 hard, but it's like letting go of the ego grip of control and stubbornness, and like, I want you to change so you fit me,
Mhm.
rather, or I'm gonna change and give up on my own desire and part of my identity in order to keep you. And what is very interesting is that we are somehow sold that that kind of control and possession and sacrifice is an expression of love, when actually is a sign of immaturity and mostly egoism. Like, I want you to have you just for myself, even though I am not giving anything for you. And it's great that you both had like a conscious uncoupling. Well, first off, a conscious claiming of each other's desires and a conscious uncoupling. Wow.
I know. Can we go back and like, I want to rewind for 30. I know this isn't my podcast, but when
Yeah.
you said, we believe that sacrifice is love. I immediately was transported back to my Catholic schoolgirl days, and I thought about Jesus, and I thought about the conditioning that we've been told that sacrifice is love, and we think of Jesus on the cross. That's the greatest sacrifice of all, right? And then we think about like our mothers, especially. My mother was very much about, I will sacrifice, I love you, I will sacrifice. So it was
Or a
financial sacrifice.
sacrifice for you.
Yeah,
So
she
it's
would
like,
sacrifice for me, right? Her
yeah,
children. But then I watched her own life crumble, right? Like she wasn't fully living her optimal life because she was busy pinching pennies and not going on dates because she needed to be the best mother she could be instead of just being a good whole human. And wow, I just like, we need to double click on that.
yeah,
Sacrifice does not equal love at all.
not at all. And least in this like religious taboo dogma that is
Mhm.
just like a hierarchical structure of control in our society, because the what's underground that sacrifice is the most horrendous feminine manipulation that I've seen. That is like, I am sacrificing for you, so you are indebted to me
Mhm.
for life, meaning that you are not free to be and do as you wish because you owe me, and I am in the position of the moral authority, which is what still many Mexican women
Mhm.
use as a means to control. And I don't know who was, maybe it was my shrink back in the day, but someone asked me, like, there's only one thing that is more powerful than love. And I was like, no, love conquers it all. Love is invincible.
Yeah.
But, and then I got curious, and it was like, okay, what's the single thing that is more powerful than love? And the answer was guilt.
Yeah.
And I was like, bam. Yes, because when you feel guilty, you're fucking chained. You are voluntarily relinquishing your freedom and your agency. And it's
Mhm.
like you, if you feel guilty, you become enslaved by the invisible chains of the person that you are like morally indebted to.
Mhm.
And I feel that operates especially in the realm of desire, pleasure, and sexuality, at least here in Mexico, where it's a Catholic culture.
Mhm.
And the ones who pay the highest price are women, that they, most relationships, well, not most relationships, but on this schema also have this like crazy thing of the men being in an open marriage, but the wife not being like on an open
Mhm.
marriage, but then she emotionally abusing him because the affairs of the man, but at the same time, she stays there and they never talk about it, but they punish each other infinitely. And it's horrible. Like I have seen it in the lives of the parents of a lot of friends from high school. And in that sense, I feel that I have been very lucky to have been the only girl in my early education schools that had divorced parents that were like, oh no, like she's the one that lives with only her mother. So fortunately, I don't have all that twistedness around what is good and bad around sexuality. Like on the contrary, I I am still very friends to the second wife of my dad. He married 3 times. He passed away a decade ago, and the presence of my no, it's not my mother-in-law. It's like my stepmother. My stepmother, right? My second
Mhm.
stepmother was very
Mhm.
important. Like she was the one that taught me how to apply makeup, and when I graduated from biology from the university, she invited me to spend summer vacations in Spain. And she covered all my expenses, and we were in Madrid for half of that time. We were supposed to travel all around Europe, and we spent all the money drinking and eating tapas with my little brother. Like we two were drinking, and my brother, he was underage. He was like a chaperone. And I remember in that trip that she told me two things. The first thing was that monogamy is bullshit. And they were like, oh wow. And she was like, if you have an arrangement, you have to honor it. But I suggest like that fucking arrangement doesn't work for me. And the second thing was that she told me that love is a book with many love stories, with many chapters. That's love. And that what makes life worth living is to fearlessly embark into a love story to its last consequences, as a love story between me and your father, my dear Candia. And she hugged me because she really loved
Wow.
my father, and my father really loved her. And then they broke up, and that was it. Like, but with that clarity, and like I am very happy to remember all of that. I really wasn't aware. But I feel that it takes courage to put the cards on the table. And I feel that's a true expression of self agency and also an expression of respect for the other person. Like, I feel that is a requirement for love, and a lot of people are like wasting their lives
Mm-hmm.
not not daring to admit to their desires and expressing them. So yeah,
Can I ask you a question?
yeah,
Have you ever had anyone on your podcast that was in an open relationship that's talked about this before?
exactly about this,
Yeah.
not, but 2 weeks ago, I published an episode with Mistress Malicia, who is
Mm.
a professional dominatrix, and she has three full-time slaves that pay her.
Okay.
Well,
That is
like,
not the same at all. That is
yeah,
like BDSM kinky stuff, which is awesome. I'm not against any of that. The reason I'm asking is, as we're diving in and talking about asking for our true desires to be met. I always want to say you don't want to just spring this on your partner, right? Like I spent over 6 months alone in a therapist's office trying 15,000 different ways to get what I really wanted. And what I wanted at the end was just my husband to be more sexually adventurous with me. And by sexually adventurous, I meant more than two positions. Literally, that's all I meant. Like, if he would have done doggy style with me, or if he would have, like, I don't know, kissed me in public, like any of these little things would have been something for me that I think would have made me feel a little bit more fulfilled. But he wasn't willing to do any of that. So, like I just kept trying, like, could I word it differently? Should I buy something sexy? Do, like going through the list, trying to figure out might be one thing that would like turn that button on for him. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is if you're listening to this and you're like, I want my fullest desires met and I'm going to tell my partner that tonight, I want you to like stop and breathe for just a minute. I've created, and I'll send you the link to this. I've created this thing called the Opening Up Guide that is full of free resources that are podcast episodes like this, other ones that are, people's experiences that have gone really bad with how they just dumped into their partner's lap that they wanted to like date other people while they were married. And so you just kind of learn like what not to do. There's book resources, there's movie resources. So I would recommend, there's even like a guide that I've created of like, what kind of open do you want to be? Like, get a little bit of educated before you go to your partner and you're like, let's be swingers, because there's lots of different types of open. And so, yes, I just want to bring us back to that. Like, be
yeah,
cautious, be careful, be educated, be be loving and sweet and slow. And don't just throw your partner into the deep end where they're going to drown.
yeah. Don't throw your partner into the deep end because they are gonna drown. And yeah, like, your deepest sensual desires are your deepest sensual desires. And part of the agency and ownership is be responsible about it and also be very clear. Like, is
Mhm.
that really what you want? Or perhaps you just like, do you want to open the relationship, or you just want a third position with your husband, which is different? Or what if you want to watch erotic movies,
Yes, definitely.
or you want to have like cyber sex? So there's like a full spectrum, and it's great that you compiled a guide to do this in a responsible way for you and your partner. Because if you're partnered, everything that happens to you, or every decision that you make, even for you, affects them, and vice versa. And the thing is, like, how much is too much and how little is too little. Like, for example, with privacy, or with the kind of open relationships. Like, what if I only want to sleep with you and you with me, but I want to be financially entangled with other people, or emotionally free? Like, how about if we are sexually exclusive and I go on and date the whole world without sleeping with them, but only kissing? So, like, there's endless possibilities. and and now that I am realizing the infinite possibilities, I am starting to feel like an shy, coy, and even a little bit afraid. Like, if afraid of what I would want and like. So, was it a moment in your process where you were like scared?
No.
No. Wow.
No. So I've learned, I don't know if you've done any podcast episodes around like the erotic blueprints and Ian and Jaya's work, but I have found that I'm a shapeshifter. So I like the whole cafeteria. Like, give me all. There's very few things that I'm a hard no to. So when I started on this journey, I literally just made a list. I was like, here are all the things I want to try. And I started actually with this show called Sex, Love, and Goop on Netflix. It's Gwyneth Paltrow's, and that's where I met Ian and Jaya. So they are on there. They're the first, second, I think, and third episode of Sex, Love, and Goop. This was 5 years ago, I think, something around that time. And I remember watching it, and I was like, "What is this?" And then I joined their whole educational. They have like a, what is it? Not a course, but a community. And I joined their course, and I joined their community, and I just started kind of peeling back the onion a little bit. And I was like, how can I feel safe in my own body? Cool, let's learn that. Okay, what's next? Okay, how can I see what my body likes? Can I do erotic body mapping on my own self? Okay, cool. I did that. I bought a bunch of sensual toys. I played with myself. Then I found a partner that would do something similar. And then I just kept peeling back the onion. And then I learned about Tantra, and I learned about energy work, and I learned about BDSM and kink. And that's a whole thing in itself, which you've already sort of talked about. And then I was like, and there's this, and there's this, and there's that. Oh my God, I could have a slave. That's not for me, but it's unlimited. And you don't want to cannonball yourself or anyone into this lifestyle. I always say start really small. To your point, if you are really curious about trying something new, or you're curious about bringing a third person in, hang out with your partner and maybe just sort of bring it up. Or when you're having sex, if you do like a little role play, or like a little like, ooh, what would it be like if I had someone else here to help me do XYZ with you? Or watch an adult film, or have them watch one with you, where you could be like, oh, this is kind of cool to me. Like, I was watching this thing and I want to show you. Or hey, why don't we watch this film tonight? And you've already pre-watched it, right? And you're like, hey, what do you think about this? So just kind of feel them out. And then you can move from there to still doing things very monogamously, where you dip your toe in, like you have sex with the windows open, like how does that feel to you? You could join a local group of people that are open, and we call it in the lifestyle, and maybe go to an event together. You don't have to leave with anybody. You don't have to kiss anybody. Like, just go and feel the energy. You could go to a sex club and don't do anything but just watch. Like, be a voyeur, feel that energy, see how it goes. Have sex in front of people and don't have sex with other people. Like, there's 500 things you can do before you literally invite another human to have sex in your bedroom with you. And that's the fun foreplay. All the 500 things are the things you want to take this slow and make it juicy. And like I said, educate yourself, get turned on, read books, listen to erotica, play with your partner, and have the two of you get to this point where you're both like, I'm a fuck hell yes. Let's go find somebody, or let's go find another couple to play with, or, and then like till you get to that point, I wouldn't do anything that's going to alter your relationship. Really bring your partner with you in the process.
Bring your partner with you in the process. And then my super Mexican controller female part. It's like, oh no, what if he finds someone
Uh-huh.
that he likes better? How am I gonna deal with that? Or no, I want to. Sometimes, one time it happened to me with, I was so infatuated with a crush. We only dated. Nothing really happened. But I was like, I don't even want to look anyone else because I feel so like devoted to him,
Mm-hmm.
almost toxically devoted to him, that I am afraid that I could ever like another man.
Mm-hmm.
Like the thing of the commitment that is an expressed agreement where everything in you is aligned. I believe it should be like that, like the commitment to open the relationship, like you feel a hell yeah, let's
Mm-hmm.
do it, let's open the bedroom, but it's an embodied decision.
Mm-hmm.
And then my fear is like, what if that person or I happen to change minds and change that commitment, which
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to be in an open relationship to change your mind. Like
Mm-mm.
my mother married many times and my father married many times, and when they were married they were monogamous, but they ended up divorced anyway. But I still somehow have this like kind of, I don't know, jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of jealousy and a lot of anxiousness in a monogamous relationship as well. But I would say open relationships take extra work, extra communication, extra conversations, extra alignment, bringing yourself back into alignment when you get out of alignment, because I've definitely been guilty of that. Um, there is so much more conversations around that than you would normally have in a monogamous relationship where you are like, it's just me and you and the dogs and the kids, and we know when to go to the grocery store, and we like you're kind of like on repeat with your life. This is a whole new ball game where you have to, if you have more than one relationship, you have to make sure each one of those relationships is in alignment all the time, and whenever it isn't, you have to get it back in there. Um, I work with a lot of clients that coaching clients of mine that come to me and they say that we have a girlfriend. I'm feeling a lot of jealousy around it. It's not rational. I don't know why it keeps coming up. I have a client right now. She's been with her person over 5 years, her and her husband, and they're still having issues with jealousy and the wife acting out. And so I sat down and did and have you heard of IFS, internal family systems, with the parts work? There's different parts inside of us.
Like constellations.
Sort of. Yeah, so it's called IFS, internal family systems, and it just talks about all the different parts inside of us. There's parts that kind of get lodged in from trauma from childhood, or the way our parents treated us, or the way we watched our parents treat each other, or a traumatic event that might have happened that kind of has a part of you regressed at that stage forever. So, for example, this client of mine had a traumatic event at 13 years old, and it stuck with her for 25 years. And now, as an adult, she has this part that every time she starts to feel that her husband might leave, even though he's not going anywhere, he loves her to pieces, she becomes the 13-year-old self. So she mean girls her girlfriend. She gets really erratic. She's trying to hold on to everything. And so when we do this IFS work, we go back and we talk about, what is this feeling? What is this part of you that keeps coming to the surface? Okay, cool. We kind of can name it. Okay. When did it start? Can you kind of remember a time in your life where you felt this same energy, you felt this same feeling, and it was really strong? Okay, yeah, you got that. Okay, great. How does this part protect you? What is it trying to protect you from? Right? My client says it's trying to protect me from someone leaving me. And I don't want my husband ever to leave me. I don't ever want to be abandoned. Great. Okay, we know what the part's trying to do. What's reality? Like, how long have you been married? 15 years? Has your husband ever left you before? Has he ever talked about leaving you? Like, this is not real. So we have these parts of our brain that are conflicting. The part that knows reality, that knows my husband loves me, our girlfriend loves me, my kids love me, I'm safe in this relationship. And the 13-year-old girl going, run, kick the girlfriend out, like sounding the alarm. This is terrible, but it's not reality, right? So when we start to see it and have some perspective, you can start to shut down some of those alarm bells. You can start to turn some of the jealousy and the anxious feelings off, because adult you can go, we're safe. 13-year-old Jen, like, you're safe. You're actually 42 now. You're 42 and you're grown up and you have kids and a husband and a life, and you make good decisions and you're safe in your marriage. Like, you convince that piece of you to just kind of come into your full body of 42 years old, and she doesn't need to be 13 anymore. So that's one of the things that I do with clients. We also do things like patterning for safety, where, like, kind of like I've already touched on, we write down lists of everything that's real. My husband loves me. He shows up for me every day. I can count on him. When he says he's going to pick the kids up from school, he does. When he says he's going to take the trash out, he does. He shows up for our anniversary. Like, you just make all these lists of what an amazing partner you have. And then you make a list of the lies that the 13-year-old you, I'm just making up a number, right? But this version of you that whispers and says, like, he's going to leave you. Like, you're trash. You can't count on anybody, right? And then you look with what's reality. And then every time those fears come up, you pattern yourself to go, but this is true. And this is true. And each time it comes up, that this is true. See, he came back. See, he came back. See, he didn't leave with her. See, he took the trash out. I can count on him. And then eventually your nervous system feels safe enough to believe my husband's not going anywhere. Like, he might be having fun with our girlfriend, but I know he's going to come back. I know he loves me and the kids. And then eventually that part loses its energy, it loses its thing, and then it neutralizes in your body.
Wow. So it's very interesting to let yourself be triggered first off without judgment,
Mhm.
without self-criticism, and then with curiosity to explore what's really going on underneath that may have nothing to do with the situation at hand, that it's only a trigger, and then you get to know yourself better, and even sort out things in you that are running the show behind the scenes that otherwise you wouldn't have become aware of nor work them out, and you would still have them running the show instead of your mature self that listens to the desires of the moment
Mhm.
and evaluates and decides whether to act or not on them, and if so, doing it in a safe way, so pleasure can happen. Yes. Well, now I have just remember, it's not a poly story, but well, it has a poly aspect. Oh no, it's well, my great grandmother was Dutch, and she was very liberal back in those 1930s for that time, and she came as a teacher all the way in a boat to Mexico and married my great grandfather, who was hyper conservative from the high society of the Dutch immigrants in Mexico. So it was the formula for disaster. And they had 7 kids. Well, luckily, because that was my grandmother. And my grandmother told me the story that my great grandmother was really fed up from the husband, really, really, really fed up. And she plotted, and she somehow arranged a third party to come into the mix, so the great grandfather, the husband, would be like well taken care of.
Mm.
And then she gradually like disentangled, and then the other lady became pregnant, and very legally and everything, because Dutch people like duty and whatever, like she was even on the testament, like the daughter. And and then she divorced him, because like, well, what's the point, like you two are perfectly happy. And then she divorced, and she was like, I think 55. And my grandmother told me that she saw her with her eyes, like taking out from the boxes from moving to another place, taking out her diploma as a teacher, her Dutch diploma, blowing out the dust, and
Mm.
she began teaching. She was packed with work. She bought herself a car, a terrain, built a house, and slowly, slowly, she brought all of her 7 kids from the big farm of cows on another state to the capital of Mexico. They all went to the university, and then she had a 30-year-old younger boyfriend with a motorcycle. And
Okay.
she was very overweight. Like we called her the fat grandma. Like that was our love way to abuela gorda. And the boyfriend used to pick her up in his motorcycle and took her to Acapulco, which was like a 4-hour highway traveling. Now I'm realizing, like, wow, my great grandmother, she was like, I don't know, perhaps pretty much ahead of her era, but a woman that finally found like her own way, in a mature way and
Mhm.
responsible way, to get hers,
To get what she wanted.
to get what she wanted.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Yeah. Yeah. And
How many women listening are like going to take notes on that one?
yeah, great grandmother.
Introduce him to new girlfriend, slowly step out of the picture. Get hot boyfriend who's 20 and has a motorcycle.
Yeah,
Yes, girl, do
that's
it.
a story. And
That's
like
awesome.
opening the bedroom
Hmm.
for whatever reason. And it's like, because there's the part like what we were talking, no, like the very solid marriage of your client, that no, you've been married for 15 years, you
Mhm.
celebrate your anniversary together, he goes and have fun with the girlfriend, but he's your husband, he's your man. So that's one format. And my grandmother is another format.
Mhm.
And the beautiful thing is like doing the work for yourself, of looking inside and start exploring and elaborating on what you want, not only what you think that you want because that's what you should want, because society and culture and your Catholic school
Mhm.
told you. So, and now I am appreciating also like the openness of the women in my family, that I never like thought about it, like, oh, that's a third part. It was like, oh, normal, that's what happened. But how was it for you when you separated from your second husband?
Mhm.
And like, how did your kids took it? Like, are they like Candia that took it very nicely from the great grandmother?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like our whole life has been pretty fluid with them. I co-parent with their dad. Every 2 days, we swap kids every other weekend. So there's constantly been this kind of fluidity and moving around in my kid's life anyway. So I told them that I told them I was in an open relationship and that they had met Scott as my friend, but I told them he was more than a friend and that Derek and I were both in an open relationship. We loved each other. You know, we were doing some therapy, trying to figure it out and see if we could still stay together. And then that kind of crumbled and they watched it and they were okay with it. And they were just, we sat them down and had a family meeting, my ex and I, and said, do you have questions? Like, what kind of questions do you have when we got divorced? And they had silly questions like, are you going to take the dog with you or is the dog staying
Oh,
with us? Like it wasn't lots of like relationship stuff.
there were
It's
no drama questions.
there really wasn't, and there were really only maybe 3 months between when my ex moved out and when Scott moved in. We quickly were like, let's go do life together. Like we're in our almost 40s. Like let's do this. We love each other. He loves the boys. Let's do life. So he moved in. Recently, we have had another conversation with them because they've thought we were monogamous the whole time that we've been together. And we have now had a 1 year anniversary with our girlfriend Jess, and Jess wants to meet the kids. And I don't want to keep having to hide that we're having this whole nother life when they're not with us. Like she's down, and I've met her kids, I've met her whole family. And so finally, a few weeks ago, I was out with the boys having dinner, and Scott was here at the house, and I was like, "This is the perfect time. I need to just tell them what's going on." And we had a conversation, and they were like, "Oh." Wow, we didn't even know this was happening, but we're glad to know. And I have teenage sons. One's driving and the other one's 14. So, first I wanted to make sure that they understood about like what individuation meant, that they weren't a part of me or a part of their dad anymore. That their dad does his own thing, he's dating, I'm doing my thing with Scott, and that's not the same as the kids, and the boys can relationship any way they want. My boys are very wired for monogamy. It's really cute. Like even the girlfriends that they've had, or when they talk about when I grow up and have a wife and kids, like they're very traditionally minded. Despite knowing that I'm a sex and relationship coach and that I've been in an open relationship, like I don't want to force that on them. So I know you didn't ask all of this, but we have had recent conversations around this. And again, they really took it in stride. Their biggest question when I told them we had a girlfriend that we both date was, Mom, how did you know? Like, how long have you known that you were that way? And they meant bisexual. So they were most interested, not even freaked out, but most interested to know that, like, Mom likes girls. So I kind of told them, like, ever since I was little, I've always thought women were beautiful. And then when I had the opportunity, I tried it and I liked it. And here we are, a bunch of girlfriends later. So,
Awesome. You know, another memory popped in my mind, and that was that as a daughter, I got really jealous of my mom's male partners.
mhm.
And like, Mom, please park with
One of
whomever,
them.
but just like stay put.
Yeah,
Like I don't want more men parading in the house. And
that is
like,
fair.
yeah, and like, oh, maybe castrating daughter. But with my father, it was like, I am still very friends with the second wife.
Mm.
And the third wife was such a good, we became so good friends that I was studying at the university in Guadalajara, in another state.
Mhm.
And in that place, they opened the first program to be a podologist, the one that fixes the nails in the toes,
Oh. Mhm.
in the whole country. And she wanted to study that, and the program was on the weekends. And I was just like, hey, I took a copy of the keys of my department. Here you are, and just come and stay at my free room where I have the computer and the books. And and we were very friends. Oh, and on that time, she was the lover of my father.
Nice.
But she was an on and off lover because my father was monogamous when he was partnered, and he was like super hippie free when he was like not committed. So it was like we didn't even sit to have like any kind of friend conversation about my father doings. It was like, yeah, whatever, like we are not together because now he is with Antonia or whatever. And suddenly my dad brought her and stayed also in my house for the program, and I was like, ah, okay, now she's in lover mode because, and not just friend mode, because my father is single. And yeah, she was the third wife. Very very interesting. So all of this to say that I had no problem with my dad's um, romances, but
Hmm.
with my mom's, I was like, yeah, and she made not very great choices. Also,
Yeah.
like as I, kids know, also.
Kids need stability. And so we've been really careful to not say that we're in an open relationship because we wanted them to feel stable. And then when it was like, okay, we've been with this person for over a year and they don't even know she exists, we felt like we at least should let them know. When you see girls' names on the calendar, like that's who that is. But they still haven't met her. So I've put this on to my children and just said, like, I'm just going to tell you when I go to Jess's house. Because when we have them, sometimes I go. Sometimes I'm like, I'm going to go spend the night with Jess. We're going to go do girl stuff and go see a movie and whatever. And I'll be back in the morning. She lives 2 hours away. So there's a little bit of transit. And that's why I felt like I needed to tell them. And I've said, if you ever want to meet her, you let me know. But I'm not going to push this on you. And they have not asked to meet her. So that's it for me. Like, I want my kids to feel stable. I want them to feel like they have parents that are going to be there for them and show up and that they're not constantly parading new people through the house. But
Okay, so just curious,
mhm.
just to see if I have like the picture clear. So there's like this format. So there's a certain order to having an open bedroom. Also, it's not like, oh, this is a mess. It's like, this is my primary relationship, or how do you manage that? Like,
Yeah, for
okay,
us. Yeah, there's
okay,
lots of throuples that live together.
okay,
Scott and I live together. We're a primary relationship, so we do have hierarchy in our relationship.
okay,
Some don't, but we do. And so we have girlfriends that don't live here, and we go visit them, or they come and visit us when we don't have kids.
okay. And have you seen success in other formats that are not hierarchical?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm in a whole throuple group where almost everybody is in a closed throuple and they live together and do life together and share incomes together and all pay for the house, or they have a couple houses because they have so much money because they're all three contributing. They're contributing to raising children. I think it's really beautiful. For us, if we ever chose that model, we would wait till our kids are grown and then we
Okay.
would choose to, currently, both girlfriends would love to live with us. So I don't know how that's going to work one day. Maybe we just have a giant, I don't know, a house where lots of people live. I don't know what is that called? Not a convent.
Not a convent.
Not a convent because that's nuns. Oh gosh, what's it called when you all
A
like share
commune?
land? Do what?
Commune?
Yeah, like
Commune?
a commune.
Like a
Everybody
hippie
gets their own
commune.
tiny home.
I remember my mom saying that all of this thing of proprietorship
Hmm.
of another person is a hoax. Like, my half brother's mom said monogamy is bullshit, and my mom said like, and it makes sense. Like, private property and family are the foundations of the state and countries and identities, and us versus the others that somehow organizes our current society, but
Mm-hmm.
for most part, humanity lived in harmony in nature, where all the kids were from everyone because no one knew who the father was.
Mm-hmm.
So they all loved and take care of all the kids. I mean, the mother knew she was the mother, but no one knew who the father was. So it was like, oh, the kids of my neighbor
Uh-huh.
may have the same father as mine, so and etc. So and well, and still both of them gave us like a certain. I remember my mom telling me like, no, I only got married so you would have that covered in your background, like you wouldn't be bullied.
Wow.
Yeah. And also my grandmother, not my great Dutch, well, my grandmother also Dutch, and she said like, no, I got married to get out of the house. And she made herself from scratch a business. So so yeah, there are a lot of bodily access between people, arrangements that finally construct the society. And I feel that we are very lucky to live in a moment historically where there's a possibility to talk openly about this and make whichever arrangements we want in a consensual and deliberate way. Yeah, and I still I feel at the same time that I might relate to your I remember talking with my meditation teacher that he told me like, no, I have had so many friends and lovers and partners together that I am more than sure that monogamy is not for me, and I also believe it's not for him. And I was like kind of feeling pressured because most of my friends were in poly setups, or
Mm.
either poly, the ones that, well, there was the huge part of the ones that married after high school or after college, because Mexico Catholic country. But then the ones of us that dodged the bullets, they were mostly on poly setups or on just like I am free, but I am on one night stand mode. Like I want to try as much people I want, my female friends and male friends equally. And I was talking with my meditation teacher, like kind of worried and like, what's your take? Because I don't get turned on with the idea. And he told me, well, then you know what is the thing for you. Like there was a time that being gay was super rebel,
Mhm.
and now it seems that, or being open was like, oh yeah, liberation. And and maybe for you this is your time of, perhaps you want to be a nun, or you just want to wait the person and that turns you on, or the setup that turns you on. So in a way I feel that all that pertains to the human intimacy of the body and the heart has to really go through an inner exploration and not be biased from the voices around. So my question, finally, my question is, if you had Like you knew you were bi, like early on, but is there any like hint that along the way that you would enjoy so much to have this specific setup of relationship? Like, okay, I have my principal relationship, and then we are part of other throuples. Like, have you in your wildest dreams suspected that this was for you?
Absolutely not. No,
Not really. So
no.
you just discovered it like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I just discovered it when we opened up our relationship. And then I was like, I really like dating more than one person at once. And I wanted to keep exploring and peeling back the onion, but the onion didn't have to be multiple partners. The onion could have been go into a dungeon, right? Or like learning Tantra. It could have been a whole lot of things I could have just done with my partner. But what I realized was I really liked having a third person in our bedroom. I really liked sharing Scott. Like I get off on, that's my kink. I love watching another woman please him or him pleasing someone else or us pleasing someone together. And what I learned was I was built for this. Like, I have so much capacity for humans and for partners. We were talking right before we hit record, which I feel like we've now
Yeah.
come full circle from our first conversation. So it's a good place to wrap up. But I actually have three girlfriends. So Scott and I are in two different throuples. We're dating two different women. One's been a little over a year, and one's been about a month and a half. She's new. And then my girlfriend, we were in a throuple with, and then Scott decided that he just wanted to exit the relationship. But I love her and I wanted to stick with her. So for over 2.5 years, we've been together. And so I feel like I'm a little bit like Pokemon, when they're like, catch them all. Like I love people. And so I want to keep people in my life forever. And I had this moment like a year ago, I was at yoga and I invite all my girlfriends to go to yoga. And I was like, let's go have margaritas afterwards. And I'm sitting at this table and I'm looking around and I was like, I have slept with half of this table of women. Because I love people. And even if the dating thing doesn't work for us or for them or for whatever reason, like we can still be friends.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
it.
learned, yeah, I learned I have a huge capacity for partners and for keeping tabs on everybody. And we do lots of like Marco Polos, and I have a huge calendar that has who's coming to see when and who. And of course, you can tell like I'm the one that manages the calendar. I love it. But I don't have 500 friends. I have several partners and they kind of take up my capacity for that. And I don't know, go skydiving every weekend. So like it's a choice. Like you make a choice of what are you going to fill your time and energy up with. And for me, it's my partners.
It's your partners.
Yeah.
It's fantastic to, yeah, claim your desire or
Mhm.
your desires multiple and organize your life in
Mhm.
such a way that there's place for that, for living a full life, and also in a way that it's sustaining and reinforcing and celebrating the the life of the people that you care for. Like you care about your partners, you care about your kids, you care about society, you have a podcast, you coach clients. So I feel that's the way, not the Catholic, hidden, sacrificial martyrdom, guilt tripping, manipulator, horrible thing, because all of that is so idle, like so unnecessary. It's so unnecessary and boring and immature. And I feel that we are very lucky to live in a historic moment to take full ownership and reclaim agency of ourselves, and to know that by doing so we inspire and we support other people doing the same according to their own footprint. So just to wrap up, what is one piece of advice that you'd like to share with us?
Mm. I think I'd leave you with you get to have the whole cafeteria. You just have to ask for it. You have to be willing to own that you want it and that you deserve it. And then you
Yeah.
ask for it.
And then you ask for it. Yeah. Word it and express it. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Very happy to have this conversation with you. So, how can we know more about your work?
Yeah,
And
I'm the Open Bedroom Podcast everywhere. If you want to do work with me, there's a link on the Instagram and YouTube bios that says click here to work with Jen. I do one on one coaching, which is what we've talked about, but also feel free to go follow the podcast if this is interesting to you. I have 200 episodes, and they're not all about open relationships. I talk about sex, I talk about how to be a good partner, I talk about how to be good in bed. And then if you're into exploring your sexuality, there's all kinds of episodes of what's it like to invite a third person into the bedroom, how to have a threesome, how to have sex with a woman if you're a woman. All of that is included in the 200 episodes. So feel free to go and like and follow that. Thank you.
fantastic. Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's been truly a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you, Sensualists, for being here. So, you know what to do. Go and follow the Open Bedroom podcast everywhere on the interwebs and check out the over 200 episodes on opening your bedroom or just simply exploring your sensual pleasures, your sexuality on a deeper and more conscious way. Also, if you haven't already, go grab the free guide to awaken sensuality at my website, which is www.myname.candiaraquel.com, www.candiaraquel.com. And until next time, remember to take the time to sense the fire of your pleasure so you can then go on and share your flame. Yay!